Breaking, Green Nation, Eagle Greenheart, Philly is heating up, and it's not because of the summer. It's because something massive is about to erupt inside the Eagles' nest. While the rest of the NFL is still settling in, taking vacations, and waiting for the season clock to start ticking, in Philadelphia, time is already moving at playoff speed. No breaks, no rest, and that has a name. Howie Roseman, our general manager, is operating like a true architect of destiny. Every move he makes, every decision, every adjustment, it's all being calculated like we're in the final 2 minutes of the Super Bowl. No room for error. He's on a mission to build a team that doesn't just reach the playoffs, but writes history in green and silver. And let me tell you something, my fellow bleacher brother, you can feel it in the air. Something different is happening. The eyes of the league are slowly turning back to us, and the pressure rises with each passing day, because everyone knows the Eagles don't play around when they're hungry. And Philly is hungry, starving, obsessed, but it's not all celebration. Yes, we're strong, but there are still battles behind the scenes that need to be won. Tough decisions, critical puzzle pieces that need to fall into place, adjustments that could shape the fate of this entire season. And that's exactly what I'm here to talk to you about right now. But first, I want to make a pact with every diehard fan out there, those who bleed green with heart and soul. If you believe Howie is building something legendary, smash that like button and drop a loud, "Go Birds!" We're going to the Super Bowl, because belief is the first step toward greatness. And if there's one fan base that never stopped believing, it's ours. So buckle up, take a deep breath, because what I'm about to tell you might just ignite the fire of hope and glory in your chest. Let's go, Green Nation. The future is being written, and you're part of it. There's been a lot of chatter recently after NFL analyst Chris Sims released his 2025 quarterback rankings, and let's just say, it stirred up quite a bit of heat in the Eagles community. Sims placed Jalen Hurts all the way down at number 10 on his list, behind names like Jaden Daniels, C.J. Stroud, Baker Mayfield, and Matthew Stafford. And here's the kicker, Sims has Hurts in a tier called The Truth Hurts, as if to subtly jab at the idea that Hurts, a Super Bowl MVP and one of the most clutch players in the NFL, is somehow living off the strength of the roster around him. To that, I say, come on. Let's talk about what Jalen Hurts actually did last season. 35 total touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. He was surgical in high-pressure games, particularly in the NFC Championship and again on the biggest stage, the Super Bowl. And don't let anybody gaslight you into thinking he was just carried to the top. Hurts has repeatedly outperformed expectations when it matters most. Against elite competition, under the brightest lights, he delivers. That's not speculation, that's a track record. Critics are saying Hurts benefits too much from a stacked team. Let's call that what it is, lazy analysis. It's almost like people forget that every single legendary quarterback has thrived with great teammates. Mahomes had Reed, Kelsey, Hill. Brady had Belichick and a rotating cast of elite weapons. Peyton had Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, and Jaron James. Joe Montana had Bill Walsh and Jerry Rice. You don't win Super Bowls without a strong team around you, period. This is the NFL, not a one-man show. And yes, the Eagles roster is strong. Saquon Barkley broke records with over 2,000 rushing yards in 16 games. The offensive line was dominant, but Jalen Hurts wasn't just along for the ride. He was piloting the ship. His ability to execute the tush push at a level no other quarterback can touch? That's not a gimmick. That's precision, power, and IQ. That's his signature. Why wouldn't you lean into your strengths? That's like asking Steph Curry to stop shooting threes because he's too good at it. Hurts' ability to stay composed and make explosive plays in big games has been nothing short of Jordan-esque. That's not an exaggeration. It's a reality that fans saw unfold in the postseason. His deep ball, arguably the best in the league. His leadership, undeniable. And let's not ignore his mobility. He's a dual-threat nightmare. From 40-yard touchdown runs to red zone efficiency, he continues to redefine what a modern NFL quarterback looks like. Now Sims puts Matthew Stafford ahead of Hurts because he's a better thrower with more touch and anticipation. But Stafford, despite his arm talent, played for years with minimal success in Detroit before his one shining season with the Rams. Hurts, on the other hand, has taken every step of his NFL career and elevated both himself and this franchise to new heights. And let's not forget, Hurts has outplayed Mahomes in both Super Bowl matchups statistically. Nearly 700 yards and 7 total touchdowns across those 2 games against one of the most respected defensive minds in the NFL in Steve Spagnuolo. That isn't luck. That's greatness. And then there's Tanner McKee. Quietly, he's turning heads this offseason. Drafted out of Stanford, McKee showed promise in preseason and finally got his moment late in the regular season. He stepped up against Dallas and started against the Giants, putting together efficient, confident performances. He's drawn comparisons to Nick Foles, but with quicker feet. And here's the thing, McKee could become one of the most valuable backup QBs in the NFL. With McCord and Dorian Thompson-Robinson also in the mix, the Eagles have depth at quarterback that could become serious leverage later in the season. Speaking of Kyle McCord, he might end up winning the QB3 spot by the time the regular season starts. The kid threw for nearly 4,800 yards and 37 touchdowns last year in college. His vision, accuracy, and command of the pocket are far ahead of what you'd expect from a young prospect. DTR brings a different skill set. He's more of a dual-threat weapon, but McCord is arguably the better long-term investment. And that leads to a potential trade scenario. If a team gets desperate due to an injury, McKee or DTR could be a very valuable piece. The Eagles hold the cards here. And let's talk about Jahan Dotson. The wide receiver 3 conversation often gets lost in the shuffle because of how dominant A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith are. But Dotson is showing up in a big way during OTAs and minicamp. He's looking sharp, more comfortable, and clearly embracing the offense. We're talking about a former first-round pick who's already flashed in playoff moments and in key regular season games. He's not just depth, he's a weapon. Defensively, watch out for Moro Ojomo. He's quietly building toward a breakout year and could outperform Milton Williams' 2023 campaign, which just landed him a huge contract in New England. Ojomo's pass rush win rate and grades from PFF are right up there among the league's best rotational linemen. That defensive line depth could prove critical in a season where the Eagles face one of the toughest schedules in the league. And speaking of that schedule, yeah, it's brutal. Super Bowl rematch. Dallas twice, Buffalo on the road, the always unpredictable NFC East matchups, and stacked opponents like the Lions, Bears, and Chargers. This could be a defining year for Nick Sirianni and this roster. The ceiling? 13 or 14 wins. The floor? 10 or 11 if injuries start piling up. But even then, this team has depth and leadership across the board. We're already hearing some questions about the safety position next to Reed Blankenship. Sidney Brown is the favorite, but Drew Makuba, Louis Cine, Andre Sam, and Tristan McCullum are all in the hunt. It's one of the biggest battles to watch going into camp. And while C.J. Gardner-Johnson is no longer in Philly, reportedly due to a mix of cap decisions and off-field personality factors, the safety room still looks promising. So, Eagles fans, what do you make of Chris Sims' rankings? Is Jalen Hurts being disrespected, or is there more work for him to prove in 2025? I want to hear from you in the comments. Drop your thoughts below and let's keep this conversation rolling. While the national media may still have doubts, the internal pulse inside the NovaCare complex tells a different story. This is a team that knows exactly who they are, and Jalen Hurts is at the core of that identity. He's not just the face of the franchise. He's the engine, the captain, and the tone setter for a locker room built around accountability, toughness, and resilience. People forget that this team has posted 14, 14, and 11 wins over the last 3 seasons, something you don't do by accident in the NFL. One of the most telling signs of how much faith the organization has in Hurts and the entire QB room is the investment they've made in maintaining stability behind him. Unlike other teams that scramble for answers when their starter goes down, the Eagles have been methodical